On the northern edge of South America lies Guyana, a country shaped by water, forest, and distance. It faces the Atlantic Ocean, but much of its interior belongs to another world, entirely a vast green landscape of rivers, waterfalls, savanna, and rainforest. From above it can seem almost untouched. Rivers bend through the forest like long silver roads. Clouds drift over the canopy. Farther south, the land opens into grasslands, where the horizon appears to have no end. For many people, the country brings to mind Kaieteur Falls, tropical wildlife, and a wilderness far removed from ordinary life. But beyond those images is a living nation of market vendors, school children, farmers, boat operators, shopkeepers, drivers, cooks, and families building their days between the coast and the interior. Most people live along a narrow coastal plain close to the sea and the mouths of great rivers. Here, towns, farms, roads, canals, markets, and neighborhoods stand close together. Behind them, the country stretches inland for hundreds of kilometers, becoming quieter, greener, and more difficult to cross. This is Guyana. To understand how people live here, it is not enough to look at the postcard view. You have to come closer. In Georgetown, morning begins before the heat settles over the streets. Metal shutters rise, small shops open. Vendors arrange fruit, vegetables, clothing tools, and household goods. Minibuses move through the city, stopping wherever passengers are waiting. School children walk beside adults heading to work. Bicycles pass along the edge of the road. Engines start, gates open, and the city slowly gathers its rhythm. Georgetown does not resemble the capitals many travelers expect to find in South America. English appears on signs and fills everyday conversation. Wooden houses stand beside concrete buildings. Wide drainage canals cut through parts of the city, reflecting a coastline that has always required careful management of water. Old trees shade streets, where people wait for transportation, talk with neighbors, or watch the morning traffic pass. Near the center of the city, Stabroek Market announces itself through movement. Its clock tower rises above a dense world of stalls, buses, pedestrians, and river traffic. This is not a quiet market designed for visitors. It is a working space filled with people buying what they need and selling what they know. A woman compares vegetables before choosing a small bundle. A vendor weighs fish. Someone carries sacks through a narrow passage. Drivers call out destinations. Customers move between tables covered with peppers, herbs, rice root, vegetables, clothing, kitchen supplies, and everyday tools. Behind the market, the Demerara River widens toward the Atlantic, connecting the city with settlements that depend on ferries and boats. The market is more than a place to buy food. It is where the geography of the country appears on a single table. Produce from farms, fish from rivers, and the coast imported goods, spices, and local ingredients meet in one crowded space. It is also where news travels. People exchange jokes, complaints, family updates, and plans for the day, while money changes hands and buses continue to arrive. Food in Guyana carries many histories at once. In home kitchens and small restaurants, rice cooks beside beans, vegetables, meat, fish, and ground provisions. Curry is served with roti. Cook-up rice brings several ingredients together in one pot. Madamgi combines coconut milk with root crops, dumplings, and other foods that make a meal feel substantial and familiar. Pepper pot, darkened with kasserip and cooked slowly, is tied to celebration, patience, and the belief that flavor deepens with time. These dishes are part of daily life. They are shaped by what grows locally, what can be stored, what families learned from earlier generations, and what neighbors have shared across communities. Guyanese food reflects African, Indian, indigenous, European, Chinese, Portuguese, and Caribbean influences. Yet, around the table, those categories often become something simpler, the taste of home. At a market stall, every meal begins with selection. Hands lift cassava, plantain, Edo sweet potato, pumpkin, bora peppers, and fresh herbs. Fish is cleaned. Rice is measured. Coconut is grated. Dough is rolled. In a kitchen, a knife moves steadily across a cutting board as a pot begins to steam. Preparation may take time, but it is rarely only about the recipe. Cooking gives people a reason to remain in the same room. Children watch. Someone tastes the sauce. Another person remembers how a parent or grandparent prepared the same dish. Food becomes instruction, conversation, and memory. In the interior, cassava holds a particularly important place. Through knowledge passed between generations, it can be transformed into bread drinks, farine, and kasarip. The process requires care. Roots are harvested, peeled, grated, pressed, sifted, and cooked. What begins in the soil becomes food that can travel, last, and support a household. Food is not simply something people eat here. It is one of the ways the country remembers where it comes from. Georgetown also tells its story through its buildings and public spaces. Wooden architecture, shaded verandas, churches, schools, government-era structures, and newer concrete buildings share the same streetscape. Paint fades under sun and rain. Repairs are made. Businesses change names, and familiar corners take on new uses. A building that interests a visitor because of its age may be for a resident simply the place beside a bus stop, a school route, or a shop visited every week. This is the difference between seeing a city and living in it. Visitors often notice what is unusual. Residents notice what is useful, reliable, changing, or missing. They know which street floods first after heavy rain, which vendor opens early where traffic slows, and which route is quicker at a certain hour. On weekends, the pace changes again. Families visit relatives, shop for the coming week, attend religious services, play sports, prepare larger meals, or spend time near the seawall and other open spaces. Cricket and football appear in conversations, yards, fields, and informal games. Music moves through neighborhoods. Small gatherings become part of the social fabric without needing to become major events. The country's diversity is most visible not in formal descriptions, but in the way people live beside one another. Different places of worship, food traditions, family names, celebrations, and ways of speaking exist within the same towns and neighborhoods. People grow up recognizing several cultural calendars at once. A dish, song, greeting, or holiday may come from one tradition and still feel familiar across many households. This is not a culture without differences. It is a culture built through everyday contact at school, at work, in transport, in markets, and along shared streets. Daily life teaches people how to move between identities without turning every difference into a boundary. The ability to live beside many histories is one of Guyana's quiet strengths. Beyond Georgetown, the coastal plain continues through villages, fields, waterways, and towns. This is where much of the population lives and where many daily routines are concentrated. The land is low and closely connected to water. Canals run beside roads and fields. During the rainy season, people watch the sky, the drains, and the water level near their homes. Farming depends on systems that move water in and out of the land. The landscape may appear flat, but it requires constant attention. Rice fields spread across parts of the coast in long green sections. Their appearance changes with the season, flooded surfaces reflecting the sky, young plants forming bright lines, and mature fields becoming heavier before harvest. The work begins long before grain reaches a market or kitchen. Farmers prepare the land, maintain machinery, monitor water, wait through rain, and organize the harvest around weather and available labor. In other areas, families grow vegetables, fruit, plantain, and root crops. A small plot may provide both food and income. Chickens move around homes. Produce is packed for roadside stalls or transported to larger markets. The journey from a garden to a city table may involve several people: the person who grows, the person who collects, the driver who carries, and the vendor who sells. Fishing follows another rhythm. Along the coast and rivers, Boats leave when conditions allow. Nets are checked and repaired. Engines are maintained because a small mechanical problem can change an entire day. When the catch comes in, the work continues at landing places, market tables, and in kitchens where fish becomes part of a family meal. A country's economy can be seen not only in large projects or numbers, but in the hands that open a shop before sunrise, the drivers who repeat the same route, and the families who turn front rooms, yards, and roadside spaces into places of work. In Georgetown and the coastal towns, many people move through the day by minibus. These vehicles are more than transportation. They are part of the city's sound and speed. A passenger waits beside the road, recognizes the route steps inside, and joins a temporary group of strangers traveling towards schools, offices, markets, hospitals, construction sites, and homes. Traffic can be slow. Heat gathers inside the vehicles. Rain can change the condition of a road within minutes. Yet people adapt through habit. They know where to wait, which connection to take, and how long the journey usually requires. Movement becomes a form of local knowledge. For young people, the coast can feel both familiar and full of possibility. Schools training work technology and city life offer new paths. Some remain close to their communities. Others move toward Georgetown or farther away. Even when they leave, family ties continue through calls, visits, money sent home, and meals shared when they return. Then there are the rivers. Guyana is crossed by waterways so large that they shape not only the map, but also the way people understand distance. The Demerara, and Essequibo connect the coast with communities farther inland. Creeks and smaller rivers branch into forest and savanna, creating routes where roads may be limited or absent. On the water, travel follows different rules. A boat leaves when its passengers fuel weather and cargo are ready. Bags are placed carefully. Boxes, food tools, and supplies are protected from spray. The engine starts, conversation fades beneath its sound, and the shoreline begins to move past. For some passengers, the journey is ordinary. They are traveling to work, visiting family, bringing goods to a settlement, or returning home. For others, the same route feels like an expedition. This difference is central to understanding life here. A river that appears wild to a visitor may be a familiar road to someone who uses it every week. Along the banks, homes and small landings appear between trees. Children may recognize an approaching boat before it arrives. A family waits for supplies. Someone carries fuel or groceries away from the water. News goods and people move with the boat, connecting places that might otherwise feel isolated. The Essequibo is not simply a scenic river. It is part of a wider system of movement, livelihood, and memory. Fishing grounds, islands, farms, river towns, and forest communities are linked through it. The water creates opportunity, but it also demands patience. Travel can take hours. Weather changes. Fuel matters. A delayed boat can affect a school day, a delivery, an appointment, or a family visit. Here, distance is not measured only in kilometers. It is measured in river bends, fuel, daylight, road conditions, and the time between departures. Farther inland, the country changes again. The forest closes around the road. Trees rise in layers, and the air becomes heavier with moisture. Light reaches the ground in fragments. Rain can arrive suddenly, striking leaves, roofs, and river surfaces with a sound that fills the landscape. At the center of this green world lies Iwokrama, a rainforest area connected to research, conservation, sustainable forest management, and nearby indigenous communities. But the forest is not an empty laboratory. It is also a place where people work, guide visitors, maintain trails, operate boats, record wildlife, prepare meals, repair equipment, and pass knowledge from one generation to another. A guide notices what others might miss: a broken branch, a call high in the canopy, fresh tracks beside a trail, a change in the river, or the behavior of birds before rain. This knowledge does not come from a single lesson. It grows through repetition and attention. Forest work has its own pace. A journey may begin before sunrise. Equipment must be checked. Water, food, and communication tools are carried. The condition of a trail can change after a single night of rain. When people travel by river, they read currents, fallen trees, shallow sections, and the weather. Conservation here is not only about protecting trees from a distance. It is connected to livelihoods, training, tourism, science, and the practical question of how communities can benefit from keeping the forest standing. The answer is never simple, but it begins by recognizing that the people who live near the forest are not separate from it. They know where food grows, where fish gather, which plants have practical uses, and which places require respect. They also want education, reliable transport, communication, healthcare, income, and opportunities for younger generations. Tradition and modern life do not exist on opposite sides. They meet every day in decisions about work, travel, language, schooling, and land. The forest may appear timeless, but the communities around it are always adapting. One of the country's most powerful images lies deep within the interior. Kaieteur Falls drops from a sandstone plateau into a gorge surrounded by rainforest. From the air, the river appears to move calmly toward the edge before disappearing into mist. Its scale is difficult to understand until a person stands nearby and becomes almost invisible against the landscape. Kaieteur is famous, but for most Guyanese it is not part of an ordinary morning. It represents a different relationship with the country, a national image, a distant wonder, a place many hope to see, and a reminder of how much land lies beyond the coast. Some places are known around the world, but for the people who live near them, they are also part of a wider home. Rivers continue beyond the viewpoint. Forest trails lead toward communities. Aircraft carry workers, visitors, supplies, and residents through an interior where flying can shorten journeys that might otherwise take days. The waterfall is not the end of the story. It is a doorway into the scale of Guyana. Beyond Kaieteur, the country continues through smaller falls, rivers, mountains, wetlands, and villages that rarely appear in travel photographs. The most important scenes may not be the most dramatic. They may be a boat arriving with groceries, a teacher preparing a classroom, a family processing cassava, or a child waiting for the rain to stop before walking home. The famous landscape and the ordinary routine exist together. One gives the country an image, the other gives it life. As the journey moves south, the dense forest begins to open. The Rupununi is a world of savanna, wetlands, rivers, ranches, villages, and distant mountains. During one season, the grass may appear dry and golden. During another, water spreads across parts of the land, changing routes and bringing new life to the plains. Here, the horizon feels larger. Roads run for long distances between settlements. Dust rises behind vehicles in dry weather. Rain can turn the same road into a slower, less certain journey. People plan around fuel, daylight, spare parts, and the condition of bridges and crossings. Ranch life remains part of the region's identity. Horses move across open land. Cattle gather near fences and water. Riders check animals, repair boundaries, and travel between places where walking would take too long. The work may look romantic from a distance, but its reality is practical: heat, mud, insects, maintenance, long hours, and the need to understand both animals and weather. Lethem brings another rhythm. It is a town of movement, trade, schools, shops, motorcycles, trucks, homes, and people arriving from smaller communities. It serves as a connection point between the savannah and the wider region. For some families, a journey to Lethem means buying supplies, handling paperwork, visiting relatives, attending school, or finding services unavailable closer to home. Beyond the town village, life follows the shape of the land. In communities such as Surama, Rewa, Iwokrama, and others across the north and south Rupununi, daily life may combine farming, fishing, craftwork, tourism, guiding, teaching, administration, conservation, and household work. No single village represents the entire region, but many share the experience of living with distance. A school day may begin with a walk along a path or a ride from a nearby home. Teachers work with the resources available. Children study subjects that connect them to the wider country, while also learning from parents, grandparents, and other community members. At-home work is divided through routine. Someone tends a garden, someone fishes, someone prepares cassava, someone repairs a roof, cleans a boat, looks after younger children, or organizes supplies. Community life depends on many small tasks being completed without ceremony. Tourism can create income through lodges, guides boat trips, cooking transport, wildlife observation, and craft sales. When organized by communities, it can also give economic value to local knowledge. A visitor sees a bird, river, mountain, or forest trail. A local guide sees timing, behavior, risk, history, and meaning. But life in a remote region is not without difficulty. A broken engine matters more when the next settlement is far away. Heavy rain can interrupt travel. Communication may be unreliable. The cost of bringing goods inland can raise prices. Young people may leave for education or employment and return less often than their families hope. These challenges are not separate from daily life. They are woven into the way people move, work, wait, adapt, and continue. Across Guyana, family often forms the bridge between different places. A household in Georgetown may have relatives in Berbice, Essequibo, Linden, or the Rupununi. A person working in the city may still call a village home. Someone living abroad may remain connected through money messages, food, music, and the expectation of returning for an important gathering. Home is not always one building. It can be a network of people spread across rivers, roads, towns, and countries. Meals bring that network together. A pot is made larger because someone may arrive. Food is sent to a neighbor. A relative brings ingredients from another region. Children learn which dishes belong to celebrations and which belong to an ordinary weekday. Recipes vary slightly from one household to another, but the act of sharing remains familiar. Older people remember how places once looked, how travel once worked, and which customs have changed. Younger people bring different tools and expectations. They use phones, online, media, new forms of work, and wider connections. Yet they may still learn to fish, cook, farm, ride, repair, or speak in the ways their families consider important. The relationship between generations is not always smooth, but it remains continuous. Every family negotiates what to keep, what to change, and what to carry forward. In cities, this may happen around a dinner table after work. In river communities, it may happen while preparing a boat or cleaning fish. In the Rupununi, it may happen while processing cassava or traveling across the savannah. Knowledge is rarely passed on through explanation alone. It is passed through participation. Children watch before they help. They help before they fully understand. Years later, the same action may become part of their own routine. In the evening, Guyana softens. In Georgetown, the light changes across wooden houses, canals, storefronts, and crowded roads. Market vendors begin to pack away what remains. Minibuses carry the final groups of workers and students. Food stalls grow brighter as the streets darken. Families return home, wash away the heat of the day, and prepare dinner. The city does not become silent, but its energy changes. Conversations move from markets and workplaces into yards, kitchens, shops, and front steps. Music comes from a passing vehicle or an open window. Rain may begin against zinc roofs, briefly covering the sound of traffic. Along the rivers, boats return to familiar landings. The surface darkens, reflecting small lights from homes near the bank. Engines stop. Cargo is lifted out. A day of movement becomes a quieter evening of cooking, cleaning, repairing, and preparing for tomorrow. In the forest, insects and frogs take over the soundscape. Beyond the reach of a lamp, the darkness feels complete. In the Rupununi, the final light spreads across the savannah before disappearing behind distant trees and mountains. Smoke rises from kitchens. Children remain outside until they are called in. Animals settle. The road becomes harder to see. Evening reveals how different parts of the country share the same human rhythm. Work slows. Food is served. Families check on one another. Plans are made for the next day. So why do people stay? The answer is not found only in opportunity income or geography. It is found in the simple truths of daily life. They stay because someone knows their name at the market, because a river carries the memory of childhood, because a particular food tastes right only when prepared by a familiar hand, because grandparents live nearby, because a yard, village, path, city, street, ranch, or landing place holds years of experience. Some people leave and still carry Guyana with them. Some return. Some build their future where they were born. Others move between places never belonging to only one. To stay does not mean that life is easy. It means the difficulties exist beside relationships, memory language work, and the comfort of being understood. Perhaps this is what makes Guyana so powerful. Geography is not simply a background. It shapes how people eat, work, travel, build homes, raise children, remember the past, and imagine the future. To live here is to live with contrast. Between the Atlantic coast and the rainforest. Between crowded markets and open savanna. Between roads filled with traffic and rivers continuing beyond the horizon. Between old knowledge and new ambition. Between places the world recognizes and routines the world rarely sees. Guyana is often described through its scale, enormous rivers, deep forests, high waterfalls, and vast spaces with few people. But a country becomes real through smaller things. A vendor arranging produce before sunrise. A driver repeating a familiar route. A farmer checking the water in a field. A family waiting for a boat. A guide reading signs in the forest. A child walking toward school. A rider crossing the Rupununi. A cook stirring a pot while relatives talk nearby. These actions do not appear on postcards, yet they are what hold the country together. Behind every landscape, people move through another day, carrying food, opening shops, crossing rivers, repairing engines, teaching children, preparing cassava, waiting for buses, and keeping alive the quiet routines that make a place feel like home. This is Guyana, not just a waterfall hidden in the rainforest, not just a distant country on the edge of South America, but a way of life between coast and forest, river and road movement and memory. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and continue exploring how people live across the world.